Ha ha ha! I'm gonna wreck it. Oh, hi. I'm back in Tomorrowland with Wreck-It Ralph, and today I'm going to hook up the logic for my video game shooting challenge at the Starcade. And I wanted to build this because I wasn't actually playing this. You can't actually play any of these games. They don't really do anything, they're just scenery. And since this is the Starcade, I wanted something to do in here. And so what I'm going to do is build a video game challenge. And this is a challenge that you can build inside any toy box, maybe as a carnival game or an obstacle where you have to shoot a certain number of targets in order to destroy a mission objective or open a door or something. But I've already taken the liberty of placing the Creativitoys that I'm going to need, or at least most of them. So let's begin by reviewing what I have. So I've got a challenge maker over here, and I've got two locators on this side of the divider, this one and this one with the little blue dot facing out that way. I have a repeater, I've got a level starter, 2 buttons, 10 rail targets, a scoreboard, a timer, and a logic gate. And we're going to put those targets on a couple of paths and make them harder to hit. So we're going to need a couple of paths. And so we'll start with our path creator. And I'm going to begin in this corner, one notch above the floor. Okay? So I'm in that corner, and we're going to go over 3 little nudges. So 1, 2, 3. This is where we're going to drop the first path creator. And that puts us in point mode. And then we're going to go 4 nudges. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where we're going to drop the first point. And then we'll go up 2 and over 2. That's the next one. Up 1 and over 2. That's the next one. And over 2 and down. And I'm trying to create a twisty path here. Oops. So the next one goes here. Next one goes here. And then over 1, up 1. Up 1, back to the left. Back to the left, down 1. Down 2 and to the right 1. Over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And over 2 more. And up 2. Up 1. Over 2. To the left 2 more and down 1. Down 1 to the left 1. Left 1, up 1. Left 1, up 1. Left 2, down 1. Down 2. Down 1, sorry. To the left 1. Down 1, left 2. Over 2, up 1. Over 3, 1, 2, 3. And up 2. Over 3, and then 2 more, down 2, and that's the end. So we'll exit out, and there is our first path. So it's a nice twisty path. Trying to make it so the rail slide targets aren't predictable. And so let's come into the point properties now. First thing we're going to do is get to my properties here. Alright, we're going to leave that on, leave that set at 100. We need to set the flag on for looped, and we need to turn off auto start objects when connected. Alright, so there is our first path. And if we just used one path, that would still be kind of predictable because you could watch how these things move and predict what they're going to do. And so to kind of counter that, we're going to put in a second path. And this one I'm going to begin at the terrain seam here. And we're going to go over 2 nudges and drop the first one right there. Okay. And then we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all the way up to the top, so 3 spaces. So right up there. And then over 2, down 2, down 1, to the left 2, to the left 3. 1, 2, 3, and up 1. Left 1, up 1. Left 2, up 1. And then over 1, down 2. Over 2, down 1. Left 2. 1, 2, 3, and up 1. Left 1, up 1, up 1, right 1, left 1, down 1, or to the right rather, right and up 1, over 2, over 2, down 2, and we'll stop there. Now we have 2 crisscrossing paths here, and we'll set the properties on this the same way we did the other one. So looped is on, auto start is off. Alright, so there are our 2 paths. Alright, and I am done with that drawing. Okay, so now we want to hook up the challenge maker and build the challenge. And let's see, probably the best thing to do is to set up the rail slide targets first. And I've already done most of these. I've done 9 of the 10 ahead of time. And I'll show you how to do the 10th one. They're all the same. So the first thing we want to do is come over to our level starter. Open the logic menu, do a new logic connection on Catalyze. We'll come all the way over to the last one here. And we want to turn this off because I don't want these to be visible when the player first comes into the toy box. It's only when they start the challenge. Which means we need to come over to the challenge maker, do a new logic connection. On invites accepted, we come over to each of these and we need to turn them on. And on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. When game is ended, we're going to come over to each of the rail slide targets and turn them back off. So these rail slide targets will only be visible when the game is active. Okay, and I've already done that, as you can see, for each of these. They're hooked up to the level starter and to the challenge maker. So they're all done the same way. All right. The next thing we need to do is hook each of these up to our scoreboard. So a new logic connection, when it's hit, we're going to come over to the scoreboard and we are going to increment the score by 1. And you'll note it's asking which player's score. I have no way of knowing which player hit the rail target or any of the target controls. So we're just going to do player 1 for both of them. So it'll be a cumulative score for all the players. And I didn't do this ahead of time, so I'll need to hook up all of these to the scoreboard. They're all going to do the same thing. I meant to do that ahead of time, so sorry about that. You'll just have to watch me hook these up or fast forward a little bit. Increment by 1, player 1. So as you can see, it's a little bit tedious, but the result is worth it. All right, so this one is hooked up. Number 4 is the one we're on. New logic connection when hit. increment by 1, player 1. Number 5, new logic connection when hit. Come over to the scoreboard. Again, increment by 1, player 1. Rail target number 6, new logic connection when hit. As you can see, it doesn't let you see, or doesn't let you choose which player hits it. So you kind of don't have any choice. Number 7. Number 8. So it's a little tedious, but it doesn't take too long, as you see. It goes pretty quick. Number 9. Increment by 1, player 1. And the last one, same thing. Okay, so at this point, all of the rail slide targets are hooked up. So now we can connect them to the path. And I'm going to connect 5 of them to the first path I drew, and the other 5 to the other path that I drew. And to kind of speed this up a little bit, I've got this repeater here. And we're going to use the same trick that we used when I built the carousel. So I'm going to change the rate down to 1 second. We'll use this button to start it. So a new logic connection when pressed. We will turn the repeater on. This one, when pressed, we'll turn it off. And on the repeater, a new logic connection when it's repeated. Come over to each of the paths and do a reset and stop. New logic connection on repeat. Reset and stop. That way I don't have to hook up a target and then come out and hit the button to move it into position and all of that stuff. Okay. So now we can go ahead and hook these up. And so I've got first five targets here we're going to put on the first path. So we'll do a new path connection. Come over to our path, toy box path, and that moves it here. And then we'll select that, go into the properties, toy box path, and we're going to set the reset percentage point to 80 for this first one. As you can see it moving around the path, that's what the repeater is doing for us. So this one will set to 80. And everything else in here is fine. All right, rail slide number 2. Target number 2. New path connection. Come over to our path, connect it there. Select that target. Under properties, toy box path. This one we're going to set to 60. Because we got 5 targets, we're going to put them equally spaced around the path. There we go. All right, rail target number 3. New path connection. Toy box path, and this one, you probably guessed it, we're going to set the reset point to 40. Just like that. Okay. Number 4, new path connection. toy box path. And this one, properties, toy box path, we'll set to 20. I start with the bigger number first, and then each of the subsequent ones goes a little quicker. And then this one is really easy. New path connection. And the reset point is already 0, so we'll just leave it there. Now the next 5 will go on the other path, so we'll do a new path connection. This one's going to connect here to this one. And just like before, we're going to do the same thing. So reset point on this one's going to be 80. You can see that one moving around that path. I sure wish I could just type this in. I don't know why they did that for some toys and not others. That slider is the slowest thing in the world. Alright. And then new path connection on number 2. Selecting these can be a little bit challenging. Properties on this one, we set it to 60. Okay. The next one, new path connection. Toy box path. What are the properties for that? This one gets set to 40. Okay, we're almost done. New path connection on this one. This one got set to 20. And the last one, all we got to do is connect it. Okay, so there we go. All of the targets are connected. All right, now one thing I just noticed is I should have had all of these out away from the wall a little bit. So when you build this, you want to put all of these points out here, because those rail targets look like they're kind of embedded in the wall at this point, and that was not what I wanted. And so I'll have to do that offline here in a little bit. So just make sure you do that. All right, so now that those are all connected, we can come out here, hit this button to stop the repeater. And at this point, we're done with that repeater. So we can go ahead and delete it. All right, now we can do the rest of the challenge, which should go easy because that was the most time-consuming part of this. So first, let's start with the challenge maker. And we'll go look at the properties. And I believe everything in here is pretty much going to be the way it is. So off, points, high to low, separate locations, current location, off, off, and on. So yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and set the properties on everything first. So the timer is going to control when the game is over. And our target time I'm going to set to be 120 seconds. So that's 2 minutes. And we'll go ahead and set this with the visible display on, count down from this target time, so everything else there is fine. On the scoreboard, under the properties, we're going to set play 2 to be the largest number I can put in here, which is 9,999. So basically no limit, as many as targets as the player can hit, and all the rest of these properties are fine. Okay, so let's do the timer. Well, let's do the locators first. So on the challenge maker, we'll do a new locator connection. We'll come over to this locator, and that is going to be the player 1 start location. And a new locator connection, and this one is going to be player 2's starting location. And then the timer, so we'll do a new logic connection on invites accepted, and there's actually 2 things I want to do here. First thing I want to do is I want to turn on this display, so we're going to show the timer, but I also want to reset it, and that's why we have the logic gate there, because if we come to the challenge maker and do a new logic connection on invites accepted, I can't select this again. So I have a logic gate here we'll use as a pass-through. So we'll input to that gate, and then on the logic gate on output, come over to the timer and do a reset. And on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. When the challenge is started, we want to come over and start the timer, and that will start the countdown. And then on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. When the game is ended, come over to our timer and pause it. And on the timer, a new logic connection. When the timer is expired, then we're going to come back to the challenge maker and complete the game. And that's it for the timer. Okay, next we'll do the scoreboard. So on the challenge maker, a new logic connection. On invites accepted, we'll come over to our scoreboard and reset it. And a new logic connection. When the game is started, we will activate the scoreboard and turn it on. And a new logic connection. When the game is ended, we want to come over here to the scoreboard and remove it from the display. All right, and then on the challenge maker, a new score results connection. We'll connect that to the scoreboard. So at the end of the challenge, we can read the scoreboard and show how many targets they hit. And then one last thing with the scoreboard, we're going to come over to the level starter and do a new logic connection on catalyze. And I just want to come over here and make sure that the scoreboard is not visible. So we're going to take the display off, because by default the score will be visible. Okay. And that's it for the scoreboard. And we already hooked up the rail slide targets so that when they're hit, they'll register the score. The next thing we want to do is get them moving around those paths. And so on the challenge maker, we'll do a new logic connection on invites accepted. Come over to the first path, and we'll do a reset and play. We'll do the same thing with the other one. New logic connection on invites accepted. We'll start that set of targets moving. And then when the game is over, we want to stop them. So new logic connection on the challenge maker. When the game is ended, come over to each of the paths and do a reset and stop. All right. And that is everything. All I need to do now is move these out away from the wall. And again, I need to do this for all of the points. But I need to pull them out here and drop them at this position. So I'm going to go ahead and do that offline, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I have moved the rail slides, or the path points out rather. As you can see, the rail slide targets are still stuck in the wall, but we can fix that easily enough by hooking up one of these buttons. So we'll do a new logic connection when pressed. We'll come over to each of these path points and do a reset and stop. And that will snap those back out onto the path. So we can make sure it looks good. If I can select it, there we go, reset and stop. And the other thing we're going to need to do is start up that level starter. So new logic connection when pressed. Hook that up to the level starter. All right, so go ahead and push the button, and that popped all of those out where we can see them. So that's really important for the game. So it's necessary that those paths sit out a half a block away from that back wall. All right, and then let's go ahead and test it out. So we'll go ahead and push this button, which hides all of those. And then I'm going to need something to shoot with, so I'm going to put down Stitch's blaster on my power disc, or base. So there we go, we got something to shoot with. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So we'll start the challenge. All right. And once again, I'm off to a great start with my shooting skills. I haven't hit one. There we go. I finally hit a target. I hit 2 targets. Nice. By having those paths twist around, you can see it makes these really hard to hit, which is good. Makes for a nice challenge. I don't really want them to be too predictable, because that gets boring. On the other hand, this is pretty challenging. I've only hit 6 targets. And I had to reload at that point. So the timer worked, it ended the game, the scoreboard results are up, and there we go. And the targets are all hidden at the end. Alright, now that that's done, we can go ahead and finish this up. So we can delete these 2 buttons because I don't need them anymore. And you can remove all of the, well, not remove, but you can move all of the creativitoys below the terrain. And then we can go ahead and put the ceiling on. So let me pick this block up. And we'll come over and use this large block here. That sits right in there just like that. And with that in place, now we can customize these last few trees out here. Because it doesn't matter that they're cutting into these blocks at all, since we're done building there. Oops. There it goes. And we can customize these over here as well. Now that we're done putting in those blocks over there, we're not going to be moving those things at all. And we'll leave the ones on the other side for after we finish this side of the street. But that's it for the Starcade. Next time, I'll start building the scenery for Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment before you go to let me know what you think of my shooting challenge. If you want to build this challenge in your own toy box, you can find logic diagrams on my blog to help you out. You can also subscribe to my channel by clicking my photo below. Take care.